Hello, everyone. Welcome to Paint with Janet on YouTube. Oh my goodness, I can't believe how nervous I am. Hi! Just going live on YouTube. Oh my goodness. Not that I haven't been live before. I've done what? How many? Did anybody count how many live streams on Facebook? Um, at least 200. At least. Hi, Liz. Oh yes, the summer was a little crazy. Yes, it's nice to start painting again. So I can't see you, but nice to hear from you. Let me know, everybody, where you're from, and if you are a seasoned Paint with Janet painter. Hi, Rhonda. So good to see you. Everything looks good on the video end. Um, I don't want to go on. I don't want to go on YouTube to look because I don't want feedback. So just want to make sure everything's working. So is everything working? I assume it is since I've got the eye. And hi, Judy. How are you? Yay. So, okay. Yeah. So everything's good. Happy to see you. Hi, MJ. Mary Jo. Always want to call you MJ. Happy to see everyone. I kind of know where you all are from. If anybody's new, let me know. Anybody's just the page isn't huge. I have 85 followers now, 85 subscribers, and I did set up YouTube to go live at the beginning of the pandemic. However, I didn't use it. It was easier for me to do Facebook, and now that they deleted all the videos, I'm kind of regretting it. But we don't live with regrets. We need to keep going. Some of you might have different names on YouTube, so I might not recognize you. And I will get back to everyone as much as I can. When I'm painting, if I'm not seeing a question, because I'm looking that way and not that way, I will try and get back to you because I don't have anybody monitoring. Sometimes people on YouTube have someone monitoring their chat. I don't have a monitor, so and it would probably be a question that only I could answer anyway. So yes, so let me know where you're from and if you are a seasoned Paint with Janet veteran from the pandemic, live stream in the pandemic. So now I'm looking forward to YouTubing it. YouTubing it. I don't know if that's a phrase. So for this is, I'm pretty sure this is the very first painting I did. Pretty sure. On during the pandemic, as soon as I started live streaming, almost 100% sure this is the very first one. And this is one of the very first ones I started when I did Paint with Janet. Started like, my gosh, now it's well over 10 years ago. And yeah, so, and it just was a really, really popular painting. It's kind of simple, but kind of elegant at the same time. I don't want to diminish the simplicity of it. It's simple and yet nice. And the way the sheen is on it. Sometimes it blocks the painting underneath. So hi, Carol. And sometimes it blocks the painting underneath and how the brushstroke is. So it's best if you follow me as opposed to try and do this, because that glistening sheen, sometimes the light gets through it and sometimes it reflects off it. So then you can't actually see the painting. So I did a little bit of that sheen kind of under the dragonflies. Sometimes, I mean, you can do either way. I'll show you. And if you don't have a metallic or an iridescent paint, don't worry about it. This is just a white metallic paint that I'm using. You can even get them like this. So, oh my gosh, this is Dazzling Metallics. They've got different ones. This is Dacryl from Desairs. So Desairs makes that one. Canadian. So I am from Canada. If you're new to Paint with Janet, from Canada, I live in Carleton Place, which is just a tiny town about 30 minutes west of Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, which is our nation's capital. And probably, I say about 3 hours east of Toronto, and everybody says 3 hours if you drive fast, or you must drive fast. Ha ha ha. So, and I do. So anyway, I am going to show you the pinwheel. So if you are having trouble with it, so I don't know if you can see this pinwheel. So you can kind of see the way the pinwheel is working. If you're having trouble with it and it's not working out, it's never too late to go back and just do circle swirls. Easy peasy. So never too late to correct that. So the paint I'm using is acrylic. I have a heavy bodied acrylic. It doesn't matter. I encourage people, go to the dollar store. If you're new to me, new to Paint with Janet, I encourage you, go to the dollar store, get some paint. At the beginning of the pandemic, it was hard to find paint. Some people one woman used her makeup to paint. It's like old makeup. So this is magenta. And some people call it primary magenta, but you could use red if you don't have a magenta, or you can use a pink. So primary magenta, and this is a heavy-bodied acrylic, but you don't need that, okay? We're going to thin it with water. I never, ever wash my brush, but I do thin the paint with water because it's water-based. Acrylic is water-based. So then I'm going to, and I always say it passes the DQ test, so don't try this at home, kids. And I'm not going to put purple on. I'm going to let the purple kind of blend on its own. And I'm not going to blend it on my palette. I'm just going to kind of let it melt into the blue. And I decided to use my ultramarine blue, which is really dark. I teach, if you're new to me, I teach step by step. Absolutely, like right from loading the palette to which brush to use. So I'm just going to put that on there. It almost looks black. It's so dark. Ultramarine is so dark, but it'll lighten up. And again, when I thin it with a little water, it's going to brighten up, and it's almost black. And then I am going to put some black on my palette, and I might put a little more black on my palette later as I'm doing the dragonflies. The dragonflies are pretty much the last thing we do, and the reeds or weeds. And this painting is not going to look the same. Going to look different. All my paintings look different. When I'm painting in person, people are like, yeah, but that doesn't look like your original one. It's like, I can't do the same thing twice, and that would be boring. So you're not going to compare to me. So, yeah, I use a large 1-inch brush. So this is a large 1-inch brush. It's really getting old. This is just from the dollar store. It's a flat brush, but it's kind of going rounded. It's getting gunked up with paint, but I like to use a rough brush for the background. And that's just so you can kind of see where it was crimped. It's actually kind of thin. A rough brush gives you a really soft background, which is really nice. Then I have a 1/2 inch or a centimeter flat. You can see it's flat and flat, crimped flat. So the crimping like that makes it flat. And then a Q-tip. When I first was using Q-tips, I had someone from South Africa on my live stream, and they were like, what's a Q-tip? And I held it up to the screen, and they said, oh, that's an earbud in South Africa. Isn't that strange? I need to ask my other South African friend if she calls it an earbud. But I thought earbuds were things you put in your ears to listen to music. Some people ask me what size I'm using. It really doesn't matter what size your canvas is, because we just go by ratio, like halfway or 1/4 of the way or something like that. But what I am using, just in case you really need to know, is a little bit bigger. And I'm going to get that centered in the camera. I don't know why I'm kind of nervous going YouTube, and I've never done this before. So even though I've done well over 200 live streams, it feels like this is my first time in a way. Kind of strange. Anyway, I get really chatty while I'm doing this, and it's just fun. Welcome to my mess. You can see behind me, my studio is a mess. Welcome to my mess. And so this is 9x12. I usually do my prototypes, so I call them prototypes, on a 9x12. They usually tend to get messed up, so some of it like gets other paint on it and everything else when I'm doing examples and things like that. And I keep these in like banker's boxes so that those fit great in there. And then this is my demo. This one is not 12. Wait, what is it? 11x15. 9x12, 11x15. I suggest if you're painting from home, not to go over 12x16, just because so you don't want to go over 12x16 because you're going to have a hard time keeping up. Even just getting the background painted, it's like it's oh, Rhonda says it's different look and sounds good. It's no different look and sound good. Thank you, Rhonda. Hi, Julia. So nice to hear from you. Yes. So all the seasoned veterans are here. All the seasoned Paint with Janet veterans are here. But let me know if you're new. 17 people I see 17 people on the eye. Nice to see. And this video will stay up, and I hope YouTube will never ever delete them. Had all of my I'm over it, but all of my Facebook ones got deleted, and it was just too difficult to kind of get them back. So anyway, let's rock and roll. So don't wet your brush and don't wash your brush because we want these colors blending. And I'm going to start with the lighter color. Oh, I forgot to put white on my palette. You can kind of see the difference between that dark blue. It's really dark. You could use red. You can use purple. You can use red and blue. You can use anything you like. Okay. So the easiest way I find to do a circle, so we're going to start with that moon, okay? The moon is going to get we want to go bigger because people tend to close in on their moon. They tend to go too dark and they close in on it. So what you're going to do, I'm not going to get this brush dirty right now. I'm going to get a different one and show you because I'm going to show you with a dark color. So don't do anything yet. I'm going to show you with a dark color. I'm going to just get, this is a nicer brush than my favorite brush. And you're going to do this. So you're going to put your brush down like that. And you're just going to pivot around. And you're going to get a nice circle. You're going to get more paint on and then pivot around again. And you're going to, this is just the bottom of a pie plate. So I just use pie plates for, or like the slightly waxy finish. But on a flat surface, it's going to look nicer. It's kind of warped. Not a pie plate. It is a paper plate. Starts with a P. There we go. So I'm going to put, after you're finished, definitely wash your brushes. Put them in water because it will dry, the acrylic will dry out your brush. You don't want to do that. So we want to be nice to our brushes, even though mine are old and kind of, they're seasoned favorites and well seasoned. So I'm going to put white on here. That's why I chose to do it with a dark color on the other one because I want to get white. Kind of offset it from center. Everybody's always trying to put things in the center. You want to have an interesting painting. So here, kind of upward, maybe a third of the way down or 2/3 of the way up, and just slightly off center. So I'm going to go slightly off center over here, and I'm going to get quite a lot of paint on my brush, and I'm going to do my pivot around. See? So even if I could hold my brush and do that, and you see if you're using enough paint, you get a really nice circle. And I want to double that, even though this moon is kind of small, but it's also a smaller canvas. I want to double that size because what's going to happen is as I start with my darker colors, you're going to lose your moon. Okay. So I can't remember. I called this secret dragonfly meeting. Dragonflies don't typically go out in the night. That's why it's secret. So I'm just going to do another swath around again. So you can see that I did another swath of the brush around again. And I am going to put a little bit of that iridescent paint on that after. I'm not touching my iridescent paint now, and I don't want to overdo iridescent paint because as you saw, if you're looking at it, it kind of reflects. Sometimes it reflects too much. I probably overdid it on this one. I got excited. Did it a long time ago. Okay. So metallic and iridescent are pretty much the same thing. Okay. And oh my goodness, Dawn. Hi, Dawn. I'm not over it. I'm still upset. Well, you know what? We can make new memories. Thank you, Dawn. Hi, Dina. I love you all. I love you all. My gosh. You know what? Like what I miss the most is not just the videos, but the memories. We had so many memories throughout the pandemic, right? Like, so let's post our favorite memories. Like, let's start posting these memories because I think the comments stay. I'm not sure. Oh my gosh, I can't remember if they stay on the YouTube live. I think they do. But let's relive those memories. Like there were some really funny moments and people came on from all over the world and got together and started to know each other, which I loved. That was just great. So now I'm going to go with the next lightest color. That's also why you don't need to wash your brush, right? So I'm going to go with the next lightest color, and this is where I'm going to start the pinwheel. And I am going to draw it out a little bit, the lines that you're going to do. So again, if you're new to Paint with Janet, I tend to do lots of examples on the side and kind of show people either with paint or with a marker. So we have our moon here. Okay. So you're not going to go out. You're going to kind of go along and out. Okay. So you're going to go along and out, along and out. Okay. So you're going to have that moon and you're going to have that kind of spiral. Resist the urge. What I see some people doing, resist the urge to curl back in. Okay. So think of like a pinwheel when it's kind of flying out, like when those kid pinwheels, they go out and they almost hit a corner. They're not curling back in. Okay, so some people they get that curve going and they curl back in. And it's hard to see because the reflection of the thing, but I'll show you here. And again, if you get that curl back in, just don't worry about it. Start doing, just swirl it. Just take a little swirl and go for that. Keep that white on because close to the moon, I want that pink or red. If you have a nice red, that's going to do it. Or I'm using primary magenta. I don't know why they call it primary. Printers call it primary magenta. They use that. But primary color is actually red. But anyway, so I'm dipping in my magenta. See, lots of paint. You need paint to paint, right? And so if I miss a few people, sometime I'm going to try and look back at the, like every 10 minutes or so back at the YouTube, like back at the comments. Oh my God. I'm going to look back at the comments every once in a while. I just can't get back there all the time. Okay. So I'm going to take a break every few minutes and read through the comments. If anybody has any questions, I'll take a break after getting the pink on. Okay. So it's hard to look back and forth and then I get mixed up. So I'm just going to kind of go along there and out. Empty my brush. Kind of empty my brush. Now I've got a lot of paint on there. So I'm just going to start to go again and out. Okay. So I'm getting my pinwheel kind of started. Julia, you're hilarious. Okay, every once in a while I catch a comment. Everybody pay attention to Julia. She knows the rules. And if you want to, you have a natural curve to your wrist and you have a natural curve with your elbow. Your elbow has a natural curve. You can curve outward again. See how it's literally going right off the page. It's not curling back in. I'm not worried about here yet. Okay, it's looking really sloppy there. Resist the urge to go over it. Resist the urge to do all kinds of things to it. Just get your pinwheel feel, okay? Get the pinwheel feel. Notice I'm not doing this. I'm not going out and around. Okay, that kind of looks strange. Okay, you want to have it kind of smooth, almost like a tangent. I don't know if you guys know what a tangent is in math. So, oh, now I ruined it. So now it's closing in on that moon. The moon's not really looking overly circular right now. I'm not worried about that. Not worried at all. But remember I said it is going to close off, okay? So now I'm going to do some more streaks. I can use my brush a thin way. I'm going to start from there. I'm going to do some more streaks going outward. Picking up some paint. I can even bring the streaks back in. Getting some more in between. Because I got my general direction. Okay. I can use my brush the fat way. I can just kind of clean it off. As you go, the curve is getting less and less of a tightness to the curve. Okay. So my moon is a mess now, right? Yes. Yes, Dana Janet, it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of white. Just a little bit of white. This is titanium white, so it really streaks. And I'm just going to, in that pink, right over top of the pink. See, I'm going right over top of that pink. And I'm just going to curl. I'm going to go one time around the moon. See, I did say it was going to close off. And see, now I kind of lost my pinwheel a bit, but I got the moon back. But what I can do with the pinwheel is I can pull the brush stroke. So you see the brush stroke is important. I can pull that pinwheel out from there. Then what I can do is take a little bit of water now. Tiny bit of water. We don't want drips on here. So all we're doing is breaking the surface of the water. So I have this mucky container. It's covered in paint. It was sour cream at one point. So I'm just breaking the surface tension of the water, which is the meniscus. I don't want a lot in here. I just want to stretch the pink throughout the canvas because the second I go to blue or purple, it's going to go really, really dark. And I might take a little bit of white and put some white streaks through too. Okay, I might put some white streaks, but I'm following. Now, as we go almost to the outside, it becomes really almost straight. Okay, almost straight. So I'm taking a little bit of pink and I'm really filling in. So it really flows with that little bit of water. I'm going to take a little bit more water, just barely touching it and getting that pink to kind of flow. But I want to keep the brush stroke looking like the pinwheel. Now I got a blob there. I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, I'm not going to worry about it because what I'm going to do is put some of that iridescent paint on there too. And if you don't have iridescent paint, you can actually go in with some, just with some white paint after with your finger kind of thing. So sometimes I like to finger paint when I'm adding in some highlights. And so you see about at least 3/4 of our canvas is covered now. Okay, that's why I said it doesn't matter the size. So 3/4 of the canvas is covered with these pinwheely type brush strokes. Now I'm going to take a little break and read through any comments and answer any questions. I remember the first time I did this, everyone's like, you're going too fast. So now you get a break. Okay. Okay, where did I leave off? Hi, Julia. Hi, Rhonda. Dawn. Dawn, you're still not over it. I know, I'm so sorry. Vina, Julia, Donna, Kenna Wiles is new and she's in the house. Oh, Kenna Wiles is new. Kenna Wiles is new. Welcome, welcome, have fun. Welcome, Kenna. Yes, I don't think I can see who the viewers' names are at this stage. I don't think I can see that. So definitely shout out hello. And if you have any questions, I'll try and get to you. I can see on the screen, like something like this. People might think, oh, that's a mistake or I need to fix it. It's just the background. And we're going to put more paint on it. I just wanted to get like a good amount of pink coverage, okay? So no worries about this kind of thing. So, and then again, if you didn't get the pinwheel right, just go with circles. Just start doing circles. And there's no right or totally wrong or anything, nothing way. And see, I'm going to do a close-up on my moon. It's not perfect, not in the least. So it's even got a glob of paint there. And that's what it's all about. It's a painting, not a photograph. Remember that. See my glob? I'm going to leave that. Leave that. It's nice. I like the globs. Now we're going to go the opposite way with the darker color. Whether you chose purple or blue. And my blue is really dark. So what you're going to do is kind of feather it in from the opposite way. Okay, so I'm going to keep this paint on my brush, and I probably don't need to add much water unless your paint isn't really moving. You don't need to add much water because we do have a lot of coverage on here. So, and the brush should be damp now, just damp to the touch. So I'm going to take my dark blue, okay? I'm going to start from the outside, and I'm going to, see, I'm starting from the outside, and I'm just showing you right now, so everybody watch, and I'm pulling in, okay? I'm pulling in right from the edge, but I really want to feather. Now I'm going to show you how to feather. So feathering, we're going to keep the brush down and then lift off. Okay, and you can even kind of use it the thin way. And see how it gave a feathery feel to it? So you're just kind of lifting off. Because we really don't want to enclose too much on the pink. Again, blue is really dark. Blue does a hostile takeover because it is the strongest color in wavelength. Like it has a short wavelength, but a high frequency. So the frequency makes it take over because any people who have blue eyes have no pigment. It's blue taking over. So I'm going to go with my blue, and I'm going to be very careful. So we're down here. I want it darker. I want it dark away from the moon. Okay. So I can go a little bit thicker here. And go a little bit thicker with my blue. Now that ultramarine blue will dry really dark as well. Acrylic does dry a bit darker. And I'm going to follow, I'm not coming over to the moon this way. I'm going to follow my streaks and kind of weed in between, but not get too close. And as I get close, if you feel you need to watch it again, watch it again. Get rid of most of the paint here. And I'm going to kind of turn my brush the thin way, even though it's getting fatter, and give it a feather. As it touches the slightly wet paint, it's going to start to blend into this beautiful purple. But notice, I'm just going to kind of pull through to get that little blend of purple without adding more paint. I just kind of let it fall off. And I'm not getting too close to my paint, to my moon. I want to keep that nice and light as I get close to that moon. I can pull my paint off down here and start again. But you can go the fat way here with the brush, like the fat way. And then as you approach, start to go like turn your brush the thin way. So it goes like thinner like that. That was the old one, the other one that I was using. I'm going to put that in water. Okay. And I can pull back down on the edge because I want to get at this point, my painting will be 100% covered. And as I get close to here, I'm going to use less paint. And I'm not really, if I start my brush stroke from here and go out, I'm going to get too much paint on there. It's going to be too dark. Okay, so I can kind of empty it here and then pull that paint slowly and gently and carefully into my pinwheel. I can get fairly close to my moon with hardly any paint on my brush and get a little purpler feel. And you're going to get lots of shades of purple. And it's so subtle without mixing a purple on your palette. Okay, so I don't want it overly thick down here yet. So down here, not so much up here, I am going to take a little bit of water because remember I have a really thick paint and I want to get it a little bit smoother. So I'm going to take the tiniest bit of water, not too much, and I'm just going to go over that blue. As I come through here in the corner, I've got a little bit of dampness still on my brush. I'm going to pull back on that corner. I'm going to go right over top of that pink because it's still, I can do it a couple of times and it's a beautiful streak of these different purples throughout there. Just don't go over everything all the time. It's going to be absolutely gorgeous. Let the paint play and blend. And my brush is damp, so it is floating a bit better over top of that pink. It's almost like you want to float it over the pink. But always when I dip, see I'm dipping, starting from the edge again, because you just don't want to have that big dark blob of paint getting close to that moon. And then you're being very cautious close to the moon. Cautious, cautious. And yeah, so after this, if you know anybody who wants to watch the video, so I'm still going to be doing it just on Wednesdays, the live streams. I was thinking of doing some shorts. I've been so busy. So some of you know I have my retreat. I had my retreat last week. So, and then everything got busy. So I never did get any shorts done. So I did want to do some little shorts for just kind of to advertise the page a bit more. Maybe people will focus on that. Just getting some paint here gently. But I will be definitely live streaming every Wednesday. And once in a blue moon, I'll live stream on a different day. It just depends. Just depends on the day. So you see, it's already starting to have this beautiful swirly look to it. Without adding more blue, I'm getting close to that moon. Soft brush strokes. And I'm not trying to get them like any swirls even. Like one swirl might look darker, one swirl might look lighter. And as I come up close, like this is still close to my moon up here. So up here is close to the moon. I really don't want to overdo that, okay? Like think this is really far. This is about the same distance as here. So we just want a nice transition. So if you have phthalo blue, it's going to look different than my ultramarine blue. I typically use phthalo and ultramarine interchangeably just because I don't want them to get jealous of each other. And then sometimes I use them for if I want a certain effect. Phthalo blue tends toward teal a bit more. I want to take a little tiny bit more water. Again, barely anything. I just think it's going to make it smoother here. Just a bit smoother transition. And I'm not heading straight to the moon, remember. I'm going around. I'm paying attention to the swirls to the pinwheel. I'm not paying attention to the moon so much. Okay. So that's just going to give me a smooth transition, that hint of water over top of that moon. Or over top of the blue. Sorry, over top of the pink. Oh my gosh, I can't talk. It's been a while since we were on. Oh my goodness, it's been... I tried to tag @followers on my page, Paint with Janet, but my goodness, well, not everybody maybe saw it. I don't know. Because nowadays, to get people to pay attention to you on Facebook, they want you to pay. They want to have everything monetized. So I'm just going to, and then I'm going to take a step back. So I've got it pretty much covered. So instead of trying to fuss over one little thing that maybe you think doesn't look right, then take 6 feet back. It's not just for COVID. So I'm going behind you guys now. So take a little step back. Also, when the paint's wet, it's going to look a little different than when it's dry. So it's good to get a bird's eye view and go a little bit far away. Don't be scared, I'm behind you guys. Okay. I don't know, I like what's happening there. So you've got a really thin part of the canvas, and it kind of did a thing. So I really like that. What's happening right there. It kind of looks like something. I don't know. Now, I do have a lot of paint on here. So what I want to do is remove some of that paint, any blue. I'm just removing it from the brush, just taking a little wipe, because I do want to get a little bit more of a blend through here. But be careful, because even if you start here, you're going to get a harsh, you're going to get a harsh line. So you're still, even that hint of blue, I just want to bring in some of the streaks into there and then move it back. Oops, I'm jiggling. I don't want to overdo this. I just want to go in and out. Just make sure you go in first before when you realize how much paint you've got on there. You see it's more pinky now, but if I went on that side of my brush, ooh, it'd be really dark. So, and that's it. That's it. That's all I want. And I did on the original, I took a little tiny hint of black, but the black streaks, and you're going to follow the same thing. What I want to do with the black streaks is only go in about anywhere between 1 to 3 inches. So each brush stroke will be a little bit different. Each one, I'm going to just pick this up with this and show you. And I'm just going to bring it in from the edge, and nothing super major. Okay. And I might want to do just a few, especially from down low. Maybe it might even look like the grasses. And I could have a little bit kind of coming from the edge, going back and forth a little bit, but very little. I didn't add much black to my brush at all when I did the top part. Okay. It almost frames it. I know it's hard to tell sometimes on the camera because it's, just going to put that under there so it stops jiggling. There's a lot of paint splotches on my table, so things jiggle as those paint splotches dry. I'm going to take a hint of black and do that. Very little. It's like just a few streaks. There was more black on one side, but you don't have to even it out. It doesn't have to be even all the time. You don't have to have exactly the same thing everywhere. And it doesn't have to be a perfect frame of the black. That's almost too much black there. So what I'm going to do, instead of using my brush to take it off, because I've already got black on there, and don't wash your brush and try to take it off because the water will stretch the paint, I'm going to take a tiny bit of paper towel and move it back. So you see it took it off without overdoing anything. And that's it. It was just like a big blob there, which I didn't like. With black, you want to be a little more subtle. And that's it. That's it for the black. And we're going to do, so we've got all kinds of different sort of sprays and arrays. It's not like each part of the pink is exactly the same length. It's just this beautiful light spreading out. Now we're finished with this brush and we are going to put it in the water. Okay. So that it can be washed later. But it does dry out fast. You just don't want it to dry out fast. And we're going to go to this brush and we are going to use the iridescent paint. So if you don't have iridescent paint, you can add some glitter on there right now if you want. Or you can add glitter afterward. Because this is a stylized painting. I mean, sometimes glitter is a little bit silly, but you know, it's just a stylized painting. It's just fun and ethereal. I'm going to put my thing back in my jar. Don't scrape your, if you scrape your spoon on the side of the jar, it's going to skin and it's not going to be a nice texture. So I do this and then you'll get that in your paint. It's not cool. So you notice the top of my jars are fairly clean, not perfectly clean, but fairly clean. And then I just scrape the, I buy them in the jars. If you buy them, I buy them in the jars because then you can put water in them. They're water based. So if they start to get thick, add some water before you close it up. So if you do it when you open it, it's not going to emulsify through. It's like osmosis. So just take a little bit of water. This one's getting pretty thick. I just poured a little clean water. I kept some clean water back in the surface. And that is literally going to, I don't have to stir it because when you stir it, it takes, sometimes you have to stir it to get it really smooth. Just close it back up and it goes really nice. Just by osmosis, the water goes through it and you give it a tiny stir and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful consistency. It's nice and creamy. Now we're going to work with that iridescent paint. And I still have some white paint left on my palette. I'm not going to save that. Sometimes you can save your paint colors. Save it with white and black. If you're going to put it in a container, save it with white and black, or save it with but you can save color together and then you'll get a nice brown color. I tell people that if they can at least get the primary colors, then I can show you how to mix them. During the pandemic, it was really hard for people to get color, to get all the, all the paint and colors. So I'm just going to put some iridescent paint here. You can see it's kind of pearlized and it's really shimmery. It's a slightly different one than I used here. That's a Canadian-made brand. I don't think you can get it in the States, but they do have TriArt. PBO. PBO has a brand that is a brand that you can get all over the world. It's from France, so you can get it all over the world. And you just look for metallic or iridescent. They're basically interchangeable. So I said we could finger paint, but I've got an awful lot of paint on here. So what I'm going to do, so you can see, I'm going to lift that up and show you so it doesn't pour. So it's a little bit runnier, my iridescent paint. I can sometimes get thicker iridescent, but I'm going to actually scoop it. So I'm going to go from the side, scoop it, and it's drippy. It's drippy, and I'm going to get that. I'm going to pat it onto my painting. And I have, again, I have this. Just don't want to get all, like, I know there's fresh black in that corner, and I go to pick it up all the time and I get black everywhere. I do try to sometimes stay contained. I'm just going to make myself a little thingamabob here. So you see, I've got it in there, and I'm going to pat it. So you see, my brush is almost flat. I'm going to pat it to get some texture in the moon. I'm going to go right to that edge, and I'm going to go over the edge. So I want to go over the edge. Oh, that paper towel's sticking. And just kind of get a glow, a soft glow to the moon. I'm kind of using my brush still flat. Notice my brush is almost flat against there. I'm not doing this. It's not like a brush stroke, like a pencil. Not holding it like that. I'm going to go right over the edge where the pink was. That's why I didn't care that I had other paint there. I'm going to bring a little bit of pink into the moon glow. So I don't have to have just this perfect circle. And this is where I still want it a little bit more messy. So I've got one side of my brush that has pink, one side that's actually kind of still got that. So I'm going to go back and pat on top of there, get a little bit of that pink in the moon, little bit. Because there's cheese in there. There's pink cheese in the moon. Soft pink cheese. It's not really a crater. Then I'm going to just take some of these brush strokes, and I'm going to take a little bit of this iridescent and just start to go over my pinwheel a bit. I am literally just using the weight of the brush. I can just use the weight of the brush and kind of pull through the pinwheel. It's a little bit different than the technique I did on that one. I pulled into the pinwheel, but I think the glow is better going out of the pinwheel. So I'm just taking the tiniest bit and just kind of pulling some out. And you can sort of skip a little and just pull some of that out through the rest. Just stay away from the black because you don't want to get black in there. And you're almost grazing the surface of the painting. Okay, you don't all, and then you can pull back if you want. Just a little hint. Like there was this thing the size of like a quarter that I took out, and that's all the iridescent I'll need because it is really translucent. Right now it's looking a little bit whiter, but it's very translucent when it dries, except when it reflects the light. So it'll reflect like crazy, but then otherwise it'll be translucent. And you don't always have to be touching the moon to do this. You can kind of come away and do a streak, look, like a streak through there. And if you start a streak here, maybe you got a glob there, just go back the other way one time through it. So I did a glob, and I'm just going to go back the opposite way. And just this soft, you don't always have to be torturing the canvas, just a soft touch. Tease the canvas a little. Just a soft touch. And see, even if I do like my like the start like that, I have a glob that's from the start. I just go back through the opposite way. Just start at the glob and go back through. Don't try to pull it. Just go back. And then you can hold it the thin way and do some little thin streaks. As you get close to the black, as you get away from the pink, you can touch the black if you want, just a little bit. But if you want to go back in here, use a clean brush. Yeah, so you just don't want to get that black throughout near the moon glow. So I'm just using up whatever I've got here on here and just doing that. Now it's gone quite light, like very light, but that's okay. That's okay. I just want a little bit more of this straight up pink here. I don't know why. It was just quite light there. So I just want a little straight up pink. Straight up. No. There we go. Just don't want to mess it with that. You don't want to go over and mess stuff up. Just want to pat that because I got a little streak in there. So I'm just going to pat that. Because I kind of messed it up. So don't fuss. And we're going to use this brush for the dragonfly wings. However, I'm going to, if you've got a bunch of water on it, just leave it in some water, just because you don't want it to dry out. If it's a nice brush, it's a nice dollar store brush. Just don't want it drying out. And I'm gonna check. Has anybody messaged me since? Country. Oh, here we go. Julia, so funny. Put your brushes down and listen to me. Brushes down. Ah, yes, Julia knows the rules. Country jumping queen. Hi. Is that your first name or last name? Will these videos be available after the class is over? My computer is dying and I don't have access to a charger right now. Haha. Yes, they will be available forever. That's what I said. They were on Facebook Live, and Facebook Live deleted them, but I don't delete them. So they will be available forever and ever. Amen. Yeah, and please, after this, please share. Please share. The more, if I get 1,000 subscribers, I can then monetize my page. And monetizing is the way to go for YouTube. Facebook started to try and monetize, but it's like a nightmare. They're a pain in the butt. So please share, like, subscribe, because then once I get 1,000 followers or subscribers or whatever they're called, subscribers on YouTube, then I can monetize my page. Right now I'm just relying on tips. Thank you. So tips and yeah, so you can e-transfer me or PayPal me a tip if you like, and then once I can monetize, it's basically goes by views, not necessarily if you like and subscribe. It's like how many hours of views, but they cottoned on to it. If if you're trying to help me out and you just loop it on repeat over and over and over again, then they're not going to count that as views. Amazing. Yes, both my first and last name. Yes, country jumping queen. So jumping is probably your middle name, country is your first name, queen is the last name, and you have a 9 in your last name. My middle name is with paint with Janet. Awesome. Yeah, so please, I know after every YouTube video I see, please like, share, and subscribe. So I have to remember to do that. Please like, share, and subscribe. So yeah, share everything. All right, let's rock and roll with some dragonflies. It's 7:23. This painting really doesn't take long. It's just getting the hang of that pinwheel, and I have perfected how to do your dragonflies too. So I'm going to just put my lid on my blue. So I'm going to do the old shave and a haircut, 2 bits. Oh, needs more. I'm going to get that in water. My spoons. I just reuse my spoons over and over again. And I'm going to get some black. Now I'm just dealing in black. Yes, that's me. I'm a black dealer. Blackjack, shellac. So I'm going to show you an example first. So this is where Julia will tell you put the brushes down. She's so funny. And watch Paint with Janet. Watch me, look at me. It's all about me. So I have to repeat all my jokes now because all of my bad jokes were deleted on Facebook. And yeah, and what's really sad is that Zed bunny, my bunny, passed away in the spring. Well, actually, it was more kind of winter, I guess. She passed away, and she used to help me paint. So it's kind of sad. We're missing Zed bunny. And she was on, like, I did show her on some of the YouTube videos and everything, because she used to be right underfoot helping me. So that's kind of a sad thing. It's really sad. Yeah. So we have, yeah. And what am I doing? Oh, I'm doing this. Yeah. There was one time when she was literally, because I had a paint. Oh shoot! I forgot to put that down. A sheet that I put down to catch the drips, because this is a carpeted room. Although the carpet's really crappy. If I sell the house, I'm gonna have to rip it up. But yeah, and she was trying to pull it out from underneath the table, and so it looked like, there was a big earthquake going on, and she was trying to yank the drop sheet up from under the table. It was kind of funny. So yeah, so all these memories of the dog. Okay, so I'm going to do the body here. Now you can curve the body. We're not going to do that right now. So I'm just going to do the body here and then the wings here. So I have a nice wide wing. Dragonfly wings are not like bumblebee wings. Bumblebees have really short wings, and they shouldn't really, by science, they should not be able to fly. So you'll notice my wings, I'm just going to use this covered paint pencil. Paint. It was red, so it was a nice pointer. So the top wing is the length of the body or more. The bottom wing is the length of the top wing or less. They can be matching. There are millions and millions of different types of dragonflies. Now, the dragonfly wings come out from almost the same spot. They can even overlap. So it's not like you've got them coming out from here. Not often can you even see the space between them. That's an exaggerated space. So they come out from the same spot almost. Sometimes they come like really almost on top of each other. So you can see this, and I'm going to thumbnail it. This is a thumbnail. Computers stole that type of measuring from artists. That's my thumb and a thumbnail. So I'm measuring the height of the body from the top of the head to my thumbnail. So that is the length of your wing from the middle of the back. Okay, these wings are probably a bit shorter. They're a bit too short. Okay, they're short by about 1/4 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch, but they should be a little bit longer. So you can go, like I said, length of the body or more. Shorter is not better. Okay, so you see this shorter one, thumbnail, the wing, and the wing. Okay. And then you can eyeball the bottom wing. They do not have to be exactly the same size because, it could be an angle, slightly angle, and they typically don't go upward so much. If they're going to go up, if you're seeing them kind of sitting, they're usually flat or flying like that. If they're flying like this, they're usually flat. They're not arced upward toward the head. They can be on a slight angle from like a slight angle or straight. These ones are fairly straight across. These ones are slightly angled up, but ever so slightly angled up. They typically don't do that. They don't angle upward. Okay, so I'm going to draw out with this, with a big magic marker, and I'm going to draw it and thumbnail and show you the thumbnail. So let's say, and then I'm going to do one with the Q-tip in paint. Okay, so I'm going to draw it and then paint it. Okay, so I'm going to just put this here, and So I'm going to have like little segments here. Maybe those are the eyes. That's going to be 2 Q-tip things, okay? But I'll show you with the Q-tip after. I've perfected how to teach dragonflies with the Q-tip. It helps because if I can give you the finest brush. The very first time I taught dragonflies, I will never forget. I give people the tiniest brush like that, and honest to God, like you can't even see the brush. They ended up with a dragonfly as fat as your thumb. Like, it's like, oh my God, how did you do that? I don't know. It's because they kept going. I know exactly how they did it. They kept going over and over their painting. Okay, so let's say this is the length of our dragonfly. Okay, and the reason why I use a Q-tip is it gives you kind of the segments a little bit because they are segmented, even though sometimes they're fine looking. But I'll show, and again, I will show you with the Q-tip. So everybody be patient. Okay, so I'm thumbnailing the Sharpie. It's right at the R. So I don't necessarily have to perfectly thumbnail. So it's right at the R. So I put the R just under the head and I make a mark because you're going to paint on your brush when you do that. We're going to use the brush for the wings. Then I'm going to do it again on the other side. And with the brush, I'm going to pull in. I'm going to pull in to under the head. And so you want to pull in, and I'm going to tell you why, so just don't ask yet. And they can almost look triangular. Sometimes I like that look to them. And because it's a silhouette, because this is nighttime dragonfly meeting, you can fill it in. So, and then sometimes you can slightly round them out. But they're wider here and really narrow at the back. Then you can eyeball the bottom ones. So the bottom ones can be smaller and they can come out like that. And again, from each one doesn't have to be exact. They can be about the same size or smaller. I think it looks nice with them being a little bit smaller. And they can have a little bit because, there could be an angle with the way the wing is flying, so they don't have to be exactly mirror images of each other. Okay, so that's where people get into trouble with this fussing. They think the things have to be mirror images or whatever. Okay, let's do it with a Q-tip. Okay, so Q-tip, dip. Okay. This is going to give you a nice fine body, and you're not going to do a stroke, okay? So it's like touch, 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 touch. About 4 touches, okay? Now the body, I want it a little bit wider. So I'm going to dip again, and I'm going to do 4 touches on either side of it, okay? So touch, 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 touch. There. That's a little bit, that's the body and then the tail. So the body or the, like that tends to be a bit thicker at the dragonfly. Then sometimes they have really accentuated eyes or head, sometimes not so much. So I'm actually going to kind of almost lay down the Q-tip like that to make kind of like eyes. Or it could look like Mickey Mouse ears. Actually looks like little Mickey Mouse ears. Then I'm just going to do 1 dip. I'm going to start up in the middle of the body. So you can see I'm going to start in the middle of the body and then as you get close to the outer part, you're just barely touching with that Q-tip because it gets really fine at the bottom and the eye will fill in that. You don't have to fill in. So even though there's stuff missing, the eye will do the blending. This is impressionism. The eye will fill it in. It knows it's a tail, so the viewer will fill it in. It's going to look different on the canvas as well. Okay, so now, then we're done with the Q-tip for now for this body. And I'm just going to put that Q-tip down where I don't lose it nor I don't get black all over everything. Then we're going to use our brush, that same brush that we had the pink on. I put it in water so it would not dry out. And I'm just going to get rid of the water. It's black. Tiny bit of that purple color is on there. Doesn't matter. Okay. Then Now this is where you want to hold your brush perpendicular or 90 degrees from your painting. 90 degrees, 90 degrees. You're using it the thin way. Thin way is going along the dragonfly, not the fat way. Okay? Thin way, and then but first we're gonna measure. Okay? We're gonna measure. That's the length of my body. Thumbnail. Got my thumbnail. I'm gonna dip a corner of the brush in some paint. It's gonna help me. I've got my thumbnail, and I'm going out from the middle of the back. I'm gonna do a dot. Okay? That's why we put the paint on the end. Middle of the back, dot. Okay? Dip again. Dip again. We need more black. Now it's really important that it's perpendicular, and you're going to pull in right to the back, right under those eyes. Perpendicular and thin. And you need enough paint on so you're not pulling the paint. If you don't put enough paint on, you're going to be doing this. You're going to be doing, and you're going to start to put pressure on your paintbrush, and you're going to get that. Okay, so you need enough paint, and you're only really using the edge. You're using the very edge of the bristles. Notice the bristles on my brush are not bending too much. Okay, so watch again. I'm going to go upward. Okay, there we go. And if I press, that one got a little bit thicker. But then I'm going to keep it straight up and down still. Straight up and down. I'm tilting mine a little so you can see through my hand, but you're doing straight up and down. And then you go down like that. And then up into here. And then fill in with lots of paint. Okay. The bottom, same thing, but we can eyeball this one. So I don't want to go past here. And I'm going right to there. And that can do that. And I'm not pulling down from here because I'm going to have a lot of paint on. So if you have more paint on, you want to start from out here where the wing is wider. Okay. And often people will overshoot. So if you have this and you start from here, you're going to get more paint on and you're going to overshoot. And then it goes weird at the bottom. So if you start from there with lots of paint, you get sharp lines with lots of paint. Okay. Lots of paint gives you sharp lines. Like I said, if you have no paint on here, these are sort of slippery paper examples I have from things. So it tends to glide. If you hardly have any paint, you see, you're not going to get sharp lines, and you're going to keep pulling. You're going to keep trying to get that sharp line. The second I put a tiny bit of paint on, look at that sharp line. And you need to keep refilling your paintbrush. I'm going to put that in the garbage before I get paint all over the place. Black paint specifically. Because I forgot to put my drop sheet down. Okay. Now, a lot of people think that dragonflies are spirits of their loved ones. I believe that they are my mom and my dad. So I'm going to do two because my dad came back as a dragonfly. So the other one's going to symbolize that one. So I want this one with the body kind of arcing that way. So I'm going to do the body first. I'm going to tilt so you can see. Okay, you just go straight. Okay, 1, 2, 3 dots, the body, and then another parallel one. I'm going to bring this closer and put it on an angle a little bit. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. And if you see a little bit of pink in the middle, that's fine. Don't worry about it. You could block it if you want it. Then I'm going to do the eyes. I'm going to kind of lay it down. I'm going to just put a little more pressure on my Q-tip to make sort of like the eyes. We're doing all right. We're doing good. And then I'm going to do one more dip and start from here. And then very little pressure. Start to kind of, I'm going to let it curve with that, with my spiral, and a little bit of the cotton kind of pulled, and it created like a connection between the beads. So it's actually really nice. As I was touching, I'm just going to touch a little more in between those, and that's it. I really don't need anything more. And I'm going to do another one kind of curving this way. Oh, I need some water. Getting a dry throat. Surprised I'm not really sneezing. It's ragweed season. I'm going to do the wings after. And so I'm going to do my body kind of coming this way. Like 3 dots and then 3. That ended up weird, but that's all right. If it ends up weird, just don't touch it, because once you get the wings on, it's going to be fine. And then I'm going to curve the opposite way of my thingamabobs here. And barely touching. Barely touching. Here we go. Oh, more water. Oh. It's been a while since I've talked nonstop for an hour. I live alone. My kids have left home, so oh, I just have a tickle in the throat. Okay, so I've got, actually, I'm going to be careful because I have a lot of paint on there, so I'm going to just kind of hover to get my thumbnail. Okay, so I've got my thumbnail, and I'm going to lower this down. Got my thumbnail, and it's going to reach almost off the page. That's a big dragonfly. Okay, then I'm going to go this way. It's going to cross over the other wing. It's going to be awesome. Like, let them cross over if they do. Okay, now I get more paint. Get more paint on. Thin way, pulling in just under the eye. Pull in, don't pull out. Touch your guideline, straight 90 degrees, pull in. Okay, more paint. I just dipped again. More paint going from here up to my guideline. That's it, that's all. Then I'm going to give it some shape. Those ones are rounded, so maybe I'm going to make these slightly triangular. The main thicker part of the triangle is up there at the end. It's thicker toward the end, and then it gets really narrow as it approaches the body. Okay. Now, usually you would see a little bit of probably the moon glow through the dragonfly wings, but because this is stylized, I just want it to be like a nice silhouette. I went a little bit thick with that wing, but I'm not going to do it with this wing. Maybe the wing is slightly turned on this one. So it's like, you see the wing and then the wing thinner. So I'm just going to leave that. The more you fuss, the worse it's going to get. You're going to get these like big fat wings, and there's a little bit of an edge there. I'm just going to touch it. Okay. That's it. That's all. And here we go. There. And I'm just going to eyeball the underwings. I want them maybe to come out here, going in, under, in toward the back where they started. Okay, so it's not going. I still see people doing this. Don't do this. Like they have the dragonfly wing and then they have the other wing. It's like, I don't think there's many bugs like that, but anyway. But they all come from one spot in the back almost. There might, like I say, there might be a tiny gap. That's it. Okay, this dragonfly is a little bit smaller, so I'm going to eyeball or thumbnail, sorry. Oh my goodness. Thumbnail that way, dot, thumbnail that way, dot, which is nice. They're going to go over top of each other. It makes it more interesting. Paintings don't always have to be everything separate. Okay, it makes it a little more interesting if you have, you know, things going over top of each other, give you a little bit more of a guideline and stuff. And this one is going to be coming down like that. And again, you can, an eyeball is a technical term in art. There. Really simple. Easy peasy. Okay, and yeah. Some of that paint kind of came off there. That's it. Now I'm going to show you how to do the grass. I'm going to give you 2 seconds to take a breather and finish up your dragonfly. And you can always add another couple of dragonflies later. Okay. Yeah, the joys of a childhood YouTube account. Yes. It looks like we still have 14 people. It's good. It's good. Yeah, so this does look very different from the original. I can't remember. Oh, I don't know how I did that. Sorry, excuse me, I'm yawning. Oh my goodness. Yeah, we started at 6:30 and we're almost done, so that was good. I did say it was going to be an hour and a half, and it is. It is. But I remember I was so nervous the very first time I did this on Facebook and Facebook Live, and I was going a little fast, and people were like, slow down, slow down. But yeah, I'm sorry, I'm nervous. But even people, when I'm doing them like when I'm doing them live and I'm right there helping people, they're like, you're going too fast. And I'm like, I kind of want you to go fast at this point because I don't want you fussing. So sometimes I will move you along so that you don't fuss, so that you give up the fuss. Because there's spots in here where maybe the wing, you know, maybe there's a little bit of black that's just not quite right. But leave it alone. Sometimes they have little nicks in their wing as dragonflies get a little older. They've got their little nick in the wing where another bug tried to eat them maybe and they escaped, or, you know, they're not absolute perfection. The imperfect is what makes it perfect. And all we have to do now are the reeds. So we're just doing reeds like for the, because they're kind of swampy, you know, they're in the swamp. So there's some reeds, and you can put them right over the moon. Like this one goes right over the moon, like over the moon glow. Or you don't have to if you're really brave, you can do it, or you can wait till it dries and then do some more if you're worried about smudging. But yeah, you don't have to worry about a thing. Don't worry, be happy. So I am going to get just another little piece of scrap paper and show you the reeds. I keep like a stack of scrap stuff that works. And this was from, just to do little examples on. I never throw out anything. I use everything. So I can't remember what I'm doing next week. So on Wednesday, so every Wednesday, we live stream Wednesday, and I might do a preliminary short. I was going to do a short for this one and show you literally the full painting in 60 seconds, like on a small sheet of paper or something like that first. But I thought maybe it would draw attention. So I don't know. I might still do some shorts, but I can't remember what I was going to do next week. But I have a list, so I'll schedule them ahead of time, and you can see them in the live file on YouTube. Okay, so for the reeds, if you want your paint thick or if you want your paint thin, so you're going to use that same brush, okay? Same brush, and you're going to pinch the top, okay? I'm going to show you on a large brush so you can see. You're just going to take some paper towel, a tiny bit of paper towel, and pinch it. But you're only going to pinch the top, okay? I'm not taking the paint off because there is a polymer in the paint. It holds the brush together. It holds the bristles together and makes it nice and thin. And I can get a really thin line, even though this is like a 1/4 inch brush or whatever. I find if people use a liner brush or they use a tiny brush, they get frustrated because they don't get those clean lines because it doesn't hold enough paint. You've got to get that paint on there. Like I said, if you're trying to keep pulling the paint, you're not going to get the crisp line, okay? So even though you can't see it with the paper towel, I've got paint on there, and I'm just going to pinch the top. I just need to squish it. I'm just pinching the top. See, I'm not pulling. You can actually see the bristles under there. I'm just pinching the top, and it goes super fine, super fine. So you see, really quite thin. It looks like a liner brush, but look, it's the fat brush. So we're going to use it the thin way. And again, don't clean the brush off. Just doing this doesn't get it thin. So just wiping it on the edge of your palette doesn't get it thin. You want to stick the paint to the bristles, so you're giving it a good pinch. Otherwise, it just does not go thin, no matter how much pressure, because the second you do it one way and then the other way, the bristles go the opposite way. Then you dip again, but don't dip. Just stay on the surface of the paint because you don't want to affect the thinness that you made, okay? So now it looks thicker because I've got lots of paint on there. There's lots of paint. And then I'm 90 degrees, it's not a pencil, it's a paintbrush. You have to hold it in different ways. 90 degrees, straight on. And the lead, now notice none of my brushes has no pressure. And I am going to, the lead end comes up first. The lead end can turn around. The lead end turns around, and the lead end comes up first with the tail. Now you can do it, you can press, but have the tail trail. You can press and then have the lead end still come up, and you can get a fine line too. And then you can pull back down on that just to get a thicker bottom. Okay? Dip again. Dip for every single blade of grass or reed. And you can start here, but dip again, start here, but then pull back down. So they're originating off the paper. Pull back down on it. Okay? So this is still pretty thin, but I don't want super thin reeds either, because reeds do have a bit of a thickness to them. Okay, I'm going to lift it up like that, and I can put a little black there after. So I'm going to turn this a little so you can see, and I'm going to have a few reeds kind of starting here, and there we go. Okay, starting here, and it tilts away from the direction you're going. So the top, the lead end comes up first. You see there's a little tail trail. I'm going to pull back down on that lead. Have them cross over each other, make them a little interesting. I'm going to turn slightly on an angle so you can see the way my brush is going. You don't have to go with the swirls of the moon, with the light. I can continue through there. I might go a little bit over top of the moon. Oh, my moon's pretty thick, so I don't want to overdo it. The paint on there is pretty thick, but I want to go a little. And, you know, if you do end up going, like if you lose your paint, leave it alone. Don't go back over it, because then you're going to get a really thick reed. Okay, so it looks like there was a gap there, so I just made it look like 2. And I'm going to pull back down, and you can have ones go like that, like all the way from the side. You can have them originate from the side. They don't all have to originate. Maybe they're just like leaning in to get a little moon glow. And then you can pull back down on them. And like I said, you don't need, these aren't fine grasses. They are reeds and weeds and dragonflies. Ooh, they lay their eggs in the reeds. Maybe they're doing, you know what, with the secret. That's the secret. This is YouTube. We can't say it out loud what they're doing. Shh. Not that he could on Facebook either, but I don't know. And not too much. You don't want to overdo this. But have some come up further, kind of framing the painting a bit. You know, I'm going to pull back on that. And then you're done. Done like dinner. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. And then when it's completely finished, just do use I got a big clump of black there. I knew that was going to be an issue. It would probably stick there forever. Okay. And wanted to get rid of my thumbprint. I can never commit a crime because I've got my thumbprints all over the sides of my paintings when I'm doing. So like, there's prints of me all over the place. Okay, and my hand is covered. I was going to say just usually my left hand's covered, but my right hand's kind of covered too, because I'm always picking up the painting and bringing it to you. A little close up. Not quite a close up, it's just there. Bring it to ya. And acrylic paint is waterproof once it's dry. It is water soluble when wet, but when it's dry, it's completely waterproof. So you can put it in the bathroom, wherever. The canvas, like if it's on wood, might buckle a little. Yes. Thank you, Dawn. Yes, please post them on Facebook. Send them to me on Paint with Janet on Facebook. It's exactly Paint with Janet on Facebook. I'm not sure if I have the link for my page on. I'm not sure if I have the Facebook link on my YouTube page. I can't remember if I did or not. I will put it on there if you're not familiar with my page. But yes, please send them to Paint with Janet because, and then you can post them. You can also post them in the event, but I mean, I might just create a post too and say, hey, for the Dragonfly paintings, everybody post here or something like that. Yeah, because I want to see everybody's paintings. So you can inbox me too, but you can't post on my page, but you can post on there. I'll just create a thread and say, hey, everybody, post your paintings here. Yes, so it's Paint with Janet, Facebook. Yes, please. I want to see them. Yeah, because you can't load YouTube. You can't load pictures on YouTube conversations. I don't think you can. Good idea, Dawn. That's why we pay you the big bucks. Good job. So thank you. Thank you for, if anybody's new, any newbies for Paint with Janet, thank you for coming. Any, who's getting, not old bees, seasoned. Seasoned Paint with Janitors. Yeah. So, yeah. So, and again, like, share, and subscribe. Please, please, please. The more we can get into this, the better. I like this. I like my spiral better than my first one. I'm liking it. I don't always like my paintings, but my own paintings. I like this. So next week will be acrylics. And the week after will be watercolor. So I'm going to do, just like on Facebook, 2 watercolors, 2 acrylics, 2 watercolors, 2 acrylics. And yeah, so there are, like I said, I can't remember what I was planning, but I am planning. I have a list. So I went through all my old ones, and so I'll be redoing them. Not always right from the beginning, but close. So take care, everyone. And thank you for coming in my debut YouTube live stream. And I'm going to end the stream. Thank you, Dawn. Thank you, Dawn. So, yeah, so I'm going to end the stream, and your comments still stay up when people are looking at the live, but then you can also comment under, like, forever, under the YouTube video. It stays up as like a video, I guess. We'll see what happens. But just because I know I've seen other people's live and they're there. Okay. And then you can just comment under that later, just not in the live part. But we'll get used to this. Onward and upward. Just a different thing, but I'm glad it all worked out. So take care, everyone. Bye.